Bodybuilding fans and athletes around the world, welcome to another episode of Primetime Muscle. I'm Tim Wilkins, joined by these two great guys, Tarek El-Guindy.
Great to be here, Tim Wilkins. Great to be here. Last week, he was wearing a shirt that I liked, that Gucci one.
And this year, Chris Cormier, bodybuilding legend, has just finished the Louis Vuitton race circuit, apparently.
Yes.
That is a snappy. Can you see that in the dark?
NASCAR.
You can buy stuff like that at Ross Dress for less.
What?
I mean, I'm just telling you, if you're going to go to Louis Vuitton, which is a nice brand, I'm not ditching. I think it's a nice brand, but
it's just
that shirt, it just doesn't even look like Louis produced it.
Oh, it does to me. It looks. This is the. I remember this.
You sent from over there. Maybe you see a little closer.
Well, if you turn the lights down and turn on the strobes and put some disco music on, this is from the Louis Vuitton Ecstasy collection. This is perfect.
Right.
This is when your lights are flashing.
It goes great in Vegas.
It goes great in Vegas when you're rock star after the Olympics.
No, Chris, it looks great on you.
Thank you.
Well, you guys, you know, we got to say real quick, we love that you like and comment and share, and we love the comments we get, especially the disagreement you two gents had not too long ago. We got a lot of great feedback about.
Yeah, he lost and lost.
There's no disagreement. He has his opinion, and I'm right.
When the cameras went down, we moved some furniture for sure.
Yeah, to hug it out. Thank you, guys. They get along wonderfully.
Can we put a close-up on Cormier again? Look, he's right between the tits of Lee Haney. Just go like this, Chris, and squeeze his nipples.
Well, I was going to segue. I'm still going to have to, unfortunately, because I'm right in the middle of this.
I know. Nico did it on purpose. I know it.
When you write into us and say hi, we write back, and we can't thank you enough. Danielle Golden, one of our viewers that watches the show regularly, no doubt on cardio, like so many of you. Hi, Danielle. Thank you for writing us.
I'm your stunt double for the future. You ever need me, call on me.
There you have it.
We appreciate you as one of the supporters of Primetime Muscle. Keep watching. Write the comments.
And
even if you don't like us, guys, just lie and help us out.
Yeah.
So, and if you don't, write that in too. Hey, but speaking of which,
thumbs up.
The ultimate real battle, though, guys, if we're going to pair these two guys up, Ronnie Coleman and Lee Haney, two of the greatest to ever do it, 16 Olympias between them, divvied up 8-8. Guys, this is they never went against each other. There was a nice little break in between the two, and
that's called Dorian Yates.
Yes.
The thing with the two here, what the big difference I see is Ronnie came up in the rear as far as being last in Olympia, working his way through all the different years of not placing well. We all took our turns beating up on Ronnie. Like Ronnie was just a little punching bag for us to beat up on, getting ready for something big. He was never somebody that we thought was going to be like dominating. But slowly but surely, he started to rise in mass and in experience from and then you got Lee Haney here, the teenage national champion. The national champion, all at a very young age, coming up and beating and winning the Olympia by the age of 24. But, you know, being a teenage champion, he was honing his skills and wanting to be that guy and probably the best in the world. It was in his mind from the start.
So, Tarek, retiring at 32 with 8 Olympias, he had a lot of running. A lot of these guys aren't even hit their stride now till 29, 30, 31, 32. He could have set that record and made it untouchable.
I've asked him, I said, did you retire because you felt like you were injured or somebody else was coming? He goes, Tarek, no. I mean, Rich Kasperi was second. This guy was second. Dorian Yates was just another guy that was second to me. I was done. I had my run. I enjoyed it. I won 8 times. I had surpassed Arnold. I was done with the sport. Do I think he could have won more? Maybe I think he would have beaten Dorian in 1992. I think he would have beaten him and had 9. He was dominant. Now, Chris is right. when he says, Ronnie was getting beat up by these guys. He's accurate on that. But, it's not like Lee Haney won every single show he competed. His first Olympia, 1983, he lost to Samir Banu and Mohammed Macau.
Yeah, I don't have him.
Let me just finish and educate you.
Never lost. Never been lowered in the third. He's never been lowered in the third place.
You had your turn.
Lifetime.
You had your turn.
He's never been lowered in third place. Lifetime.
And I'm going there, but I'm just saying.
Well, be there.
I'm just. He's quick lately. He's quick. Usually he's so slow.
Struggle.
Man, the dispensary must be out of product. But anyways,
so that's what we're doing now.
No, but anyways, he placed second and third. In his first Olympia, he was third place, and then he went on a rampage and won 8. Was he more dominant? And Chris and I agree with that. During his career than Ronnie Coleman?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
First, when he was an Olympia champion, he never lost a show. Ronnie Coleman did lose in 2002
to Gunter.
To Gunter Schillerkamp.
In New Orleans.
New Orleans.
That never happened to Lee Haney. He was dominant from the beginning to the end. And I also thought that I don't think the guys he was beating were not as good as some of the guys that Ronnie beat, but I thought he convincingly beat Rich Kasperi. He convincingly beat some of those guys. He convincingly beat Dorian Yates in the 1991 Olympics.
Why do you think all this? Because he was the guy, when he hit a front lat spread, he didn't have the biggest arms out of everyone he beat. He did not. Did he have... the best striated glutes? He did not. But what he did bring to the table, when he hit a shot, front lat spread, everything opens up, all the fibers are dancing, all the bells and whistles are on display, the quads are flaring, nice calves for a brother competing, and his waist when he hit that front lat spread was vacuumed. Lats flaring, chest striated and full and round. Going to the back shots, he was just lights out. Back double bicep, the thickness, the separation, the striations, the lat spread was dominant. Lights out, even next to my man Dorian Yates. And that's my man, but I gotta call it what it is. He got dominated by Lee Haney. And, coming into the show, Dorian, he told me himself that he went up there and he wanted to hit him just to let him know that he was there. So you can see it on the video. When Dorian walks up, he just goes like boom and just bumps him like that, just to let him know that he's here to compete and he's trying to get his title.
Now, Dorian did kind of usher in a different era of, and you look at Ronnie, and this is definitely not the best picture of Ronnie right here, but things were a little blockier. You had the vacuum, the taper, the X-frame of Lee Haney, and then you had almost an entire era of guys that kind of rounded off a little.
But Haney had that over all the bodybuilders, all the mass monsters, anybody you can think of. Haney still maintained that small waist and kept it together throughout his posing. He was a master at posing, and I love that about him. And to me, that put you on a different level of a Ronnie Coleman, because Ronnie never mastered his posing. He was always looking at himself during the posing, making sure it's there. You can see it on plenty of videos. But Lee Haney was the master of all the facets of being a professional bodybuilder, and he is my quarterback.
I agree with Chris. Lee Haney was more dominant. Lee Haney was not only bigger than the guys that he was competing, but he had beautiful lines, superior lines. He was so dominant. The thing is, by the time he was competing, Ronnie Coleman, there was the beginning of social media. There was the beginning of a little bit of a spread of Facebook and MySpace. The ways of communicating in the magazines were a little bit faster. So Ronnie got a lot of publicity. We don't have that many videos of Lee Haney on YouTube, because they were not filming that much.
But Lee Haney was on television when I was young. When he did the Go for the Gold, I was at home watching this on Channel 9, and I couldn't wait to get to Venice, California, because that's where I saw Lee Haney was, and I couldn't wait to go and drive there and get my T-shirt and get my magazine and go to the beach and watch the guys at the beach and then come home and be so motivated to do and try to duplicate what these guys did. But Lee Haney he had that. We had the Olympias on TV. We had Wireless Sports that was showing a lot of Olympia coverage. And that's where I was like, that's why I was like so motivated to try to do that.
But here's the deal. Let me finish this time, jackass. In Lee Haney's time, you saw him competing on television and you got excited because it inspired you. At Ronnie Coleman's time, you saw him competing on YouTube and all that stuff, but you could also share that content with thousands of other people. So the reach that Ronnie Coleman had, despite Lee Haney was on television, now Ronnie Coleman, still, you got tons of videos. You got millions of videos of Ronnie Coleman that you can share to the entire world for eternity. Lee Haney, we have those videos on TV, but that generation is almost gone, right? I mean, it's guys like 50s, 60s, you guys' age, that are not like, sharing on YouTube. Ronnie Coleman is like, this ain't nothing but peanuts. That's like a forever thing on the internet. We don't have that kind of content from Lee Haney. So he doesn't get the publicity that Ronnie gets, but if you look at the resume, he was more dominant than Ronnie. And if you tell the young kids that somebody was more dominant than Ronnie, they go crazy. They can't believe it. But historically, he was superior.
Well, Chris, I bet somewhere you and I have a Betamax or a VHS we could show him. To show him the old Ronnie and Dorian and all the old guys. Really? We're that old? Maybe there's some Super 8 from back in the day. Maybe we could show Lee.
I'm not saying you guys are that old.
Cassette.
All I'm saying is we've been getting offers to sponsor the show by Rogaine, Cialis, AARP, all kinds of stuff. Hey, can we bring Martin on camera? Let's give a shout out to Martin. Here, Martin.
You want to see what makes this happen?
Guys, the Olympia director, Martin, showed up. Martin, come right here.
Come on, Martin.
What's up, brother?
How you doing? How's it going?
And gentlemen,
this is the magic behind the show right here.
Magic.
I'll take one of those.
A lot of people come up to us and say, why is the Olympia so much more majestic than any other show? It's because, do the Arnold Schwarzenegger voice complaining about it.
I wish my show was better. It's nice, it's big, it's named after me, which is cool. I could name it after my horses, whiskey and soda, but no. Martin, he's the reason.
Martin, we want to bring you on camera because the Olympia is majestic. And one of the reasons is because of your work. Congratulations. Guys, this is one of the best guys working behind the cameras. He gets no props, no credits, because he likes it like that.
Clap. Not even
one clap. But we're going to clap for him right now.
That's the biggest applause you ever got, right?
Don't say nobody ever gave you the clap, Martin.
That's Martin Carrillo for you guys. We want to give him a shout out. We're always promoting people here. At one point, we got to bring the director here, but we won't give him credit until the end.
All right, guys, this would be the ultimate battle. Of course, it's impossible to compare GOATs from different eras. You can't say LeBron versus Michael Jordan versus Laker guy, Magic Johnson. It's all different eras, but these were the GOATs of their day. And a big shout out to them and keeping it real and keeping it going. When we come back, more Primetime Muscle after this. We've got some funny stories about Ronnie Coleman, and we're going to share those. And we are very lucky to have with us one of the legends of the sport and a guy who shared a lot of stage time and a lot of off time with Ronnie Coleman. And without giving away too many state secrets, Chris, you got some stories.
Oh, man. Ronnie is from Louisiana, small town, probably like 800 people. He's just a simple guy. He's super funny, so he's funny without even trying to be funny, which is the best type of comedy I like, is because, just sharing the different times we had on the road with Ronnie. I could think of, everyone knows all the sayings that he came up with, but, before all the,
Can you do all the sayings?
Before all the yeah buddies came and all the ain't nothing but a peanut, all that stuff came along, Ronnie was a quiet, unassuming, you might say introvert at a lot of times, that just didn't say much and didn't require much attention. And he sat in the back of the bus, not because he was black, just because he was like to be in the back of the bus and out the way. So we'd go through Europe after we turned pro. So Ronnie, we competed against Ronnie at the USA in 1991. I met him in 1990. I was in Texas, and I was like, noticing that, a large frame, but he still was lacking in the leg department, stuff like this. So when he started to grow, we did the USA together in 91. I placed fourth. I think he was seventh, I think he was seventh in 1991 USA in Santa Monica. Then we went on to the nationals, and we both went the natural route. So I wanted to do the nationals, but I wanted to try to go for the Mr. Universe, which was drug tested. So, you had everyone in it. Had Flex Wheeler, Kevin LeBron. We all went out there to compete. I think it was in Pittsburgh, I believe, 1991. I placed seventh. Ronnie Coleman took fourth. Matt Mendenhall was fifth, so on. So all these guys, it was just stacked. So he went on to get his pro card. I went back and, started thinking I need to gain some more size. I'm going to take a year off. But he went to the Universe, and that's where he won the world championships. Then he started competing directly into the Olympia and, getting beat up pretty good. But then he started to come around year after year, and then you started to get in the funny story with, we'd be in Europe, and he's in, just sitting back. We were gonna go exchange some money, and, we're gonna go to, visit some gyms, stuff like this. So instead of saying, hey, I wanna come along with you guys, he just tagged along behind. He just followed behind without saying a word. So just thinking, we just start to leave, and he don't want to be like, hey, let me go with you guys. He don't say anything. He just following behind. Most of the time, we would go and exchange money. Went to McDonald's. He didn't want to eat the food. I'll eat the burger for you. Don't worry. We would get to a certain point to where he started to get better, started to get bigger, and then you start to hear him opening up. And then when he started to open up more, and then you started getting to know Ronnie on a personal level. One day we were, where were we? We were in New Zealand. We're in New Zealand, and the show is going on. We're doing the intro for with the promoter. The promoter's a Russian guy, and he has a strong accent. You could barely understand some of the stuff he's saying, but he wanted us to be in a line, getting ready for the competition to open up. He didn't want us in certain sections. So certain sections you got even competitors, 2, 4, 6, 8. You got odd, 1, 3, 5, 7, so on. And so when the guy started saying, okay, I want you bodybuilders, I want the competitor 1, competitor 2, competitor 3. So I want odds and evens. And so one of the competitors said, oh, what was that? Odds and even. And then Ronnie's like, he says, y'all don't have odds and evens out here? he's like 2, 4, 6, 8, that's even. 1, 3, 5, 7, that's hard. And so we just start busting up laughing because obviously the guy knew what odds and evens, you know, whatever. He thought that, you know, in that country that they don't have the odds and evens. He just misunderstood because he didn't hear it. It was just a bit misunderstanding. But also in that same competition, I ended up taking second. I knew he was going to win. I wasn't going to beat him. And at that time, you know, we started drinking some alcohol at the end, you know, for the banquet. So we started drinking, and then we started thinking it was pretty funny to see how many corks we were going to end up with at the end of all these bottles that we're drinking. So at that time, you know, we had one full handful of corks, and we went through all the wine, all making our way to the champagne, and then we ended up with 2 handfuls of corks after we finished all those bottles off. That's when we decided to go out to a club. Yes, Ronnie went to a club, and yes, we were out there dancing. We had our girls with us. He had his girl at the time with him, and we started, you know, we're dancing on the dance floor, doing all the dances. Ronnie can really get down out there on the dance floor. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that.
But yes, he can get down. And by the end of the night, we were leaving. That's when all the alcohol hit me. That's when that's when the equilibrium was off. And I found myself being dragged with my feet behind me into my hotel. Ronnie's got me like around the arm like this, and I'm just talking to Ronnie, doing the drunk talk. We just best of buddies. Going into the hotel, I'm hitting the walls, going on trying to get to my room. Tony Doherty sticks his head out the door. And he's going like, what's going on?
What's wrong out here, mate?
Yeah. So Tony Doherty opens up his door, and then next thing you know, he finds out we get to this room, get to my room. He opened the door and he just threw me to the bed. And then I went flying across to my bed, and then he just shut the door. And then that was it. That was the end of our trip in New Zealand. And we went on to have some more times after that, but we're doing the whole yeah buddy thing and the whole I know you can do it good.
Oh yeah. Well, my first time working with him was 99-2000. I'm emceeing the Southern States, and they brought him as a guest poser, and he liked to do charity work whenever he was in town. And they had a Boys and Girls Club, and they had all these kids there, hundreds of kids in the stands, and in the middle of the gym, just a bench press. And we walk in and said, "What do you want to do, Ronnie?" He said, "Go out and introduce me, and I'm gonna lift some weights." I said, "All right, that's great, man. What do you want to do?" He said, "Put on 225, Timmy." So I put on 225, and he comes out, and I introduce him. He comes out, clink, 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 puts it up, put on 315. Y'all kids don't do drugs and listen to your mamas. And 315, clink, 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 clink. Puts it up and goes, "Stay in school, study hard, get good grades, don't do drugs." Did I mention don't do it? Put on 405, Timmy. And he keeps putting weight until he's used all the weights that's there, cranks out about 500, gets up, goes, "Who wants to touch my muscles?" And all 500 of the kids come out of the stands and hanging on him. He would touch sign every autograph and take every picture, and was there for the kids and answered their questions. But just what a huge personality. He was done being an introvert by then.
Oh yeah.
Because he just wanted to go in there and positively impact those kids. It was just phenomenal, but he was so funny. Few words, load the bar.
One of my favorite stories of Ronnie Coleman is when he gets a call for domestic violence. And that's in Arlington, Texas. And he's wearing his shirt. His arms are exploding. And he's wearing shorts and boots. And they call in, and they got a camera filming him going into the house. Apparently, the young lady had pushed her mother, and the mother called the police. And as soon as Ronnie Coleman walks in with his shirt and his shorts, the young lady started crying. And he's like, "What are you crying for?" And the mom said, "Well, she just pushed me." I said, "Yeah, she should be tough right now. I don't understand why she's crying." But he didn't realize how shocking he was, because I would be crying too. Okay, if I called the police or somebody called the police and that guy showed up in my house with those shorts and the shirt exploding, I would be crying. My entire family would be crying because he looked massive. He just looked so out of place being this huge bodybuilder as a police officer. And it's like Chris said, he had no idea how funny he was, and that's what made him even better.
Well, and he still is such a huge icon of the sport. The crowds are huge. He just got through with a big tour of the UK over there with our buddy Giles. And
you can never forget about the apples and oranges. So, I didn't complain when I took 17 and he went from 1992 all the way to the present. I didn't complain, and he had all the placings with the years like off the top of his head. And it was like, I didn't complain, man. I was on the stage when he was doing it. I had to run off the stage because I couldn't stop from laughing. I was laughing so hard, but he went down and he went down all the way down to when he started winning the shows. And now he said, I never complained when I took this place and that. He went down every single show. So everyone is like listening like this. And he goes, so the moral of the story is, why complain? And then we was just like, oh, shit. Well, we were like, oh, shit.
There's so many great memes about, all the phrases and yeah buddies and the peanuts. One of my absolute favorites still that they play in all the motivational videos is everybody want to be a bodybuilder, but ain't nobody want to lift no heavy-ass weights. He lifted a lot of heavy-ass weights in his day. Ronnie, we love you. And guys, I know so many great stories. If you have one, be sure to share one when you like, comment, and share. And when we come back, a little bit more on one of the greats of our sport on Primetime Muscle.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, you know I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on trifecta.
All right, we're back, and we're talking about the dominance of the one and only Lee Haney. And we all had to turn around. Chris was look at the meat.
Mastery, man.
The lats, the serratus. I love that. The two knobs of the serratus there always remind me of like a super suit on Batman or Superman.
See, we have to wait for the magazines to come around each month for us to, to see the likes of a Lee Haney or some of the greats. It was never like picking up your phone, you're laying in bed and you're scrolling, looking at Instagram or something like that. But to have Lee Haney, I remember I connected with him and I loved this photo he did. He had a bowl of gumbo and he had a large piece of bread, and he was like talking about he's a Southern boy. He does love the Southern cooking, but he had to switch up his diet to do this sport of bodybuilding. But when I saw that gumbo, I just connected with him right away. I was like, this guy loves seafood gumbo. I love Lee Haney. And Lee Haney, man, just to have some of the different things, you got to say with that muscle, he wants you to stimulate, not annihilate. All these different things that he came up with. He was the first one to be like, he said, I know that, people want to catch me. He's knowing like I'm the rabbit, and they're the hound dogs. And as long as I keep a lead, they will all eat my dust. Until that time, let's go, hound dog, and then he started going, doing his set. But he always had like something, a little funny, witty thing to say, and it was so witty throughout. And always, when I got a chance to get to know him and to talk with him personally, and recite to him some of the stuff that he used to say on his videos and everything. To me, like that's the epitome of the sport. It's like being that little kid and be able to meet your, a legend, your idol, and to become friends with your idol, that's to me what the sport's all about.
My wife teases me, but I'm still that little kid, dude.
Oh yeah.
I still love hanging with my idols.
Still.
You, as our resident historian, we talked about some of the big names that Lee had to contend with. Rich Gaspari. Rattle off some of these other guys that.
Samir Banu, Muhammad Makawi.
You have Sean Ray talking his mess about the mass monsters and the
Dorian Yates. He beat Dorian Yates. There's this misconception that Ronnie Coleman beat a more prominent lineup than Lee Haney, and I disagree. If you look at one of the best back double biceps in history, Samir Banu. The first guy to introduce striated glutes was Rich Gaspari, right? Who's one of the best posers? Lee Labrada. So he was beating all these guys. The only difference is when we look at Ronnie Coleman's career, we can say that in 2001 was very close with Jay Cutler. We can say that by the end of his career, 2005, 2004, the waist was not there. Jay was squeezing him. He lost to Gunter at the Orleans show. We don't have one single victory of Lee Haney where it's controversial. You can ask Rich Gaspari, who took many second places to him, and he said, I was second. You can ask Lee Labrada. He goes, I knew I was next to a divine physique. He never had one controversial victory. And I have to say, he was the most dominant bodybuilder of his time. There's no glaring weaknesses. I don't think his arms were small. I don't think his legs were undersized. I don't think there's no glaring weaknesses. If you look at Ronnie Coleman, despite being the freak monster, one of the poses that was not very favorable was his abdominals and thighs. Lee Haney is the most dominant bodybuilder of all times. Is he the best bodybuilder of all times? I don't know. You could give that to not only Ronnie Coleman, you could give that to Lee Haney, or even Phil Heath, who won 7 titles, not 8, but it was extremely dominant during his time, right? I think there's not enough justice in covering Lee Haney's dominance. He was not the social media age. A lot of us historians, we have to remind some of the young kids, my man, before Ronnie Coleman, there was Lee Haney, and he was, by results, the most dominant bodybuilder of all times.
I think we need to do a better job at reminding about the history of the sport to the younger generation. People like Lee Haney needs to be talked about more, in my opinion. And there's a few other people that, you know, Robbie Robinson. It's a lot of greats that need to be talked about more. Who
still looks incredible, by the way.
Still looks
the Black
incredible.
Prince is holding up.
Yeah, so, you know, we need to remind, we need to let them get to know different stories about these champions because, you know, that time was that time, and, you know, Ronnie had his time at his time, but I think if Lee decided to go and compete up until he was, you know, 34, 35, I think he still would remain the champion.
You know, and I think what happens today is, you know, you're watching ESPN, you're watching the NBA, you know, a guy who got drafted 27th and he scored, you know, 42 points, you know, people are like, GOAT, he's the greatest of all time. Everybody is a GOAT nowadays, right?
Everyone's a legend.
It's you know, as a legend. You're not a legend. You're not a GOAT.
Just
in
older.
our sport.
Just older.
You know, but we live the age of, you know, we need to create sensationalism. But at Primetime Muscle, we're not going to do this. We're going to tell you who's truly a legend, an icon of the sport, and who's not. Ronnie Coleman, he is one of the gods. Phil Heath, whether you like him or not, I know a lot of people critical of him on social media. He's one of the gods. Lee Haney, he's one of the gods. And then you have bodybuilders who wanted to be one of the gods, like Sean Ray, and he's not.
Exactly. He came up short, if you will.
So we talk about that era, though, and one of the things I love about these guys that are still in amazing shape and still out there making it happen, Rich Gaspari, Lee Labrada, I saw Samir. But a couple of those guys are just staying in top shape. Robbie Robinson just guest posed a few weeks ago at one of the shows he was at, and ageless, just ageless.
Oh man, I would like to see more footage or more coverage on these guys because, I mean, they put forth the effort. They're still putting forth the effort and still living that life.
And you have to contend, though. I'm sorry, Tarek. You have to keep in mind the GOAT of their era and who they were competing with. You can't say, well, Lee Haney would never beat Phil Heath. Well, he wouldn't beat any of the guys in that lineup because that's what they're judging now.
If you're really a historian of bodybuilding, the greatest genetics of all times is not Phil Heath. It's not Lee Haney. It's not Ronnie Coleman. It's Sergio Oliva. He's the greatest genetics of all times. We need to talk about him. We need to educate people. I understand people might not want to know the personal life of Larry Scott, but just like the NBA, you need to know Oscar Robertson. You need to know Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Will Chamberlain, and all these guys. It's not only about Steph Curry being the GOAT. You know what I mean? There was Michael Jordan. There was Magic. And we're going to do here in Primetime Muscle, we're going to educate you. Sean Ray, nothing against you, but don't come after my boy Chris Cormier. I will crush you every time.
You know what?
Yeah.
I got to take this aside because I'm a few weeks out from a show and I'm dieting, and you said curry and goat in the same sentence, and I got Jamaica hungry. I started thinking, man, some peas and rice and some curry goat would be good right now.
I would love that.
It's just so amazing. It's so good. So amazing, these guys, to look back at Lee Haney's dominance, to look back at Ronnie Coleman and all the great stories. And we're so appreciative and want to make sure that all the fans are aware of what came before us and what we're building on as we head into the 60th Olympia. Like, share, subscribe. Give us ideas for topics or athletes you want to see highlighted. Tell us about who your favorites are. Guys, fun episode to look back at.
Yeah, but when you say share and like, put the camera on Tim, not on Chris. Nobody's going to share or like with the camera on Chris. Tim is a lot more marketable.
I always appreciate that as well. Tarek Yogendi, thank you as always for giving us your history and your insights.
Thank you. Good
Great job, buddy.
Chris, thanks
Great
for
job.
So always good to have you here as our as the guy who lived it that can share with us your stories.
Actually did it.
You were there. Folks, we'll see you on the next Primetime Muscle. Do join us and make sure it's a nice long cardio because we're here for you.